Welcome back. Here with us on Times Now. Viewers, Suchir Balaji's mysterious death is one we are all following very closely, and so it seems is the world's richest man, Elon Musk. Suchir Balaji was found dead in his San Francisco apartment in November last year. After an initial investigation, authorities concluded that his death was an act of suicide. However, his family has since called for an FBI investigation, highlighting several lapses and alleging that Suchir Balaji was murdered. Elon Musk has now shared Suchir Balaji's mother's interview with American commentator Tucker Carlson on his X handle, calling it extremely concerning. In this interview, she said OpenAI, the makers of ChatGPT, have killed her son in order to hide something they want nobody to know. And earlier, even we spoke with her after this whole incident came to light, and this is what she told us.
So, Poornima ji, what happened as far as the family of Suchir, you and your husband who have been claiming that, was there any unusual activity that was noted on his devices after his death? And, when someone so self-assured, you say, wouldn't take an extreme step like this. So what exactly, when it comes to his devices, has there been any foul play with that regards that you have a suspicion?
Yeah, actually, we found that his pen drive is missing and his apartment is ransacked in search of his pen drive, as well as his desktop. His desktop was left open for 3 days. November 22nd or 23rd early morning is when his whatever happened, right? That's what the medical examiner said. But the computer was left open for 3 days until 26th. And when we went on 29th, also it's open. What we know is Suchir had password and his computer would go to sleep. And also we found some temp files. I wouldn't want to be too technical here. Some temp files for the Google Drive were deleted. And we only found the temp files from the day we picked up. So we suspect that his desktop has been hacked and some data has been removed.
And joining us on the broadcast this evening are my guests. We have N S Nappinai, senior advocate and founder Cyber Sathi. We also have with us Pavan Duggal, who is a cyber security expert. Good evening to both of you. Thank you for speaking with us here on Times Now. N S Nappinai, I want to begin this discussion with you. You just heard what the mother had to say, and now Elon Musk also has shown his support to the family of Suchir Balaji, calling it extremely concerning. But the question remains, will the family ever get justice?
We will have to wait and see. Because, we are also talking about a case that has now been reopened after a period of time. Whenever we speak about electronic evidence, the concern is that, in my first book, I called it the breadcrumb trail after Hansel and Gretel. Because as in that story, if the breadcrumb trail goes old and if it gets tampered with, then you lose relevant evidence. So we are looking at a situation where some time has elapsed since the incident. We are looking at a situation where this is being agitated exactly when the OpenAI case is now before court for a decision on whether it should be taken up for trial or not. We are at a situation where a tweet by a public figure has thrown the limelight on it and has pushed the police to reopen the case. So there are a lot of ifs and buts in the process, but all our hope will definitely be that justice will prevail.
Okay. Mr. Pavan Duggal, do you have any comments on, the kind of claims that the family has been making and has now reiterated, the mother specifically, and now even Elon Musk has said that these are extremely concerning. The family has been saying that it is not a suicide. He was happy. He has been murdered. Somebody has killed him.
Once a family makes this kind of an allegation, it's that serious that it must be investigated. The purpose of justice is not only to do justice, but also to make it known to all that justice is being done. So once the family has got a second autopsy done, once the family is saying it's no longer just suicide, I think those allegations are themselves sufficient enough for the said investigation to be beginning again, to be reopened, And now that there is a momentum that's happening, that's even more reason why this, if there's any doubt, that needs to be clarified. Because how does the police comes to a conclusion of a suicide in about 40, 45 minutes? More so when there are so many other suspicious factors. So the matter is still under investigation. We'll have to wait and watch. But yes, these developments are very, very important. The second autopsy becomes important. And now these assertions have not to be taken lightly, but need to be duly investigated. And if they're found, to be dismissed, then no problem. But at least let the common people know that it was actually a suicide, or was it actually much more than that?
Well, absolutely. It's the justice, that the parents today are waiting for, because Ms. Nappinai, this incident happened in November. We are in the middle of January. And since day one, the family has been saying that there were lapses. His computer remained open and there are certain documents.
True, that is true. But again, see, these are all reports that we are going on, and it's not much that we can draw on from just mere news reports. But let me just try and don my lawyer's hat to just give general inputs without it being specific to this case, because I do not want to subject this case to a media trial, but I would just want to evaluate it as a hypothetical situation. If I were to look at it that way, all the issues that have been raised by the family are aspects that the police will have to give weightage to and will have to address. When you look at a case of a whistleblower particularly, you're not dealing with just another case of death. You're not just dealing with one more unnatural death. You're dealing with an unnatural death in the background of certain circumstances that may lead to an alternate consequence or decision. So I feel that this is something that ought to have been looked in at the outset itself by police. But if it is happening now, as the saying goes, it's better late than never. And each of these pointers that have been put forth are the proverbial tip of the iceberg. As the investigation progresses is when we'll be able to see where the actual situation stands.
And Mr. Pavan Duggal, shouldn't questions be asked of OpenAI? Because we have to remember that he was a whistleblower, Suchir Balaji. There was something that he said, the allegations that he made, something that he knew of the unethical practices. Even they need to really come out at a time when the world is moving towards adoption of artificial intelligence. We want AI to become a part of our lives. But if there are unethical practices that he also was privy to, he was not okay with, shouldn't the world also know about those?
I think the world has a right to know as to what were the reasons which led to this particular episode. Whether it was a suicide, whether it was a murder, and if so, the reasons behind the same. Now, had it been a normal case, it would have been different. The very fact that he has been named as a witness in one of the lawsuits obviously points out to the fact that this gentleman had a lot of other information which is not privy in the public domain. And that being so, his information could have been of value to all respective stakeholders. What was the value? We don't know. We'll have to wait for investigation to let us know the complete facts. But based on what the reports are telling us, I think there are reports to the fact that he had some access to internal information and he was working for the greater good of humanity as a whole. So if that is the case, we have to see it in the context of the advent of AGI, and now with the advent of super intelligence coming in, obviously these concerns are getting more and more ventilated. Therefore, I think this matter needs to be investigated again, if possible, by the law enforcement agencies, at least for the purposes of removing these so-called doubts that are coming to throw up. Because had it been a crystal clear case, then no doubts would have been raised at all. But now, given the peculiarity of the lawsuit filed by New York Times and his being named as a witness, given the peculiarity of the strange behavior of the sequence of events found at the apartment, given the very strange exercise of computer being on for 3 days and a lot of other things being missing, these are all questions, red flags being raised. And I think these red flags need to be investigated so that the people need to know by and large that the system has done everything possible in its power and possession to grant real substantial justice to all parties.
Well, interesting points you both have made, and I'd like to thank both of you for joining us, Ms. Nappinai as well as Mr. Pavan Duggal. Appreciate you joining us here on Times Now and sharing with us your perspective on this big story. We'll be tracking this story closely ahead as well. For now, we're slipping into a very, very short break. We'll be back with lots more. Don't go anywhere.